What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 264, and we have Conor McGregor going against Dustin Poirier. The trilogy, it's 1-1 going into the third fight. Can't wait for it. Should be a very fun main event and a very fun card overall. The main card, is pretty solid, and I think we have a lot of exciting prelims as well, so can't wait to get into it. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video. Also subscribe if you have not yet. We much appreciated. It's a huge card. It's a Conor card. So let's say we aim for 500 likes. If we can get 500 likes, that would be awesome. Do want to point out that it is the beginning of the month, so now is a great time to sign up on the Patreon. Do have some of the options up here. You have the MMA DFS, the UFC betting, the MMA DFS, and betting as well. So 3 tiers there. The most popular is going to be that UFC betting package. You have access to the UFC statistical model, which does include the advanced stats courtesy of Uncle Weezy. Also puts together a nice matchup template as well. You get first notice on all bets. I do have 3 bets thus far. Looking to add more once to get out of some of these props as well. The betting article, some betting breakdown videos, my Hail Mary parlay, which is also in the article as well. And then, of course, access to Discord. But yeah, the most popular option is that betting. But yeah, if you're also into the DFS, the DraftKings, the FanDuel, the MMA DFS is a good option as well. And of course, there is both. So it is a pay-per-view, is a huge pay-per-view. So I'm going to be doing the DraftKings contest as always and the strikes contest. Start with the strikes contest. To enter that one, first leave a like on the video. Second, subscribe if you have not yet. And then third, comment down how many significant strikes you think that Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier are going to combine for. Next is the DraftKings contest. To enter that one, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you have not yet, and then comment down your DraftKings username. I can get up to like 200 people in there at the max, so you can do both as well. So $25 to the winners of each. Not much, just something to say thanks for the support week in and week out. You guys are awesome. One more thing. Well, 2 more things. Going to have a live stream Friday, as always, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Live stream Saturday, 1 hour prior to when the prelims start. And then also doing a new show, me and Uncle Weezy on Pub Sports Radio every Sunday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll put the link in the description if you guys want to check it out. It's called Stat Diggers. We dig into each and every matchup, go through all the stats. Very, very good video there if you guys want to check it out. Again, it's on Sunday. The link will be in the description, so check that out as well. A lot of people really seem to like it, so check it out there. And yeah, that's about it. I say we get into the video, starting with the first fight of the night. And we have Amadoski going against Yaozong. And yeah, this could be potentially the worst fight of the year. The lowest level fight of the year could be this fight right here. And we have Amadoski, who is 33 years old, 5'10", 74-inch reach, 8-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Yaozong is 26 years old, 6'3", 72-inch reach, 3-2. And 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Only has 5 fights. So, yeah, if Yaozong loses his fight, he's going to be 3-3, and probably not in the UFC as well. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We have Amadoski, who is a slight favorite, opening up at minus 175, currently minus 135, and then Yaozong opening up plus 150, currently plus 115. So some money's coming in on Yaozong. And yeah, interesting matchup. So you take a look at it. We have not seen these guys fight in some time. Amadoski has not fought in 1 year, 8 months. Yaozong has not fought in 2 years and 6 months. And kind of going through their career, we'll start with Yaozong. And very interesting because he's fought the majority of his career, which is not a long career, at heavyweight. He came in UFC debut against Cyril Asker. He weighed in at like 232 pounds there. And it was on 4 days short notice. He goes in there and gets choked out by Cyril Asker in that second round. The next fight, light heavyweight, 205, goes in there against Rashad Coulter. It was actually a very close fight. I went back and watched that fight. I actually scored the fight for Yaozong. I thought it was a very close second and third round. Could have went either way. I personally did score for Hu there. But the first round was clear. Coulter hurt him bad. But he did recover very well. And then as far as Amadoski, again, he's 0-2 as well. Went in there against Krzysztof Jotko, 30-26 on 2 of the judges' scorecards, and also a 30-25 mix in there as well. Complete domination. Jotko landed 43 significant strikes, 4 takedowns, tons of control time. And then Amadoski only landed 6 strikes in 15 minutes against Krzysztof Jotko. And then the next fight, he went in there and did the opposite of what you should do against John Phillips. Against John Phillips, you want to take this guy down. He has a 7% takedown defense, but no, Amadoski went in there and got into a brawl with John Phillips, which, like I said, that's the last thing you want to do, and he got knocked out in 17 seconds. So very weird fight. I have no clue why this fight's on the card, But this Yaozong Hu, I mean, very interesting guy, because this is going to be his first fight at 185, which that's very interesting, because he's fought first fight in the UFC at heavyweight, second fight at 205, and then third is going to be at middleweight. So it's weird. It's a weird fight. It's a weird fight, but you do see Yaozong Hu is going to be, 26 years old. I think his last fight, I think it was like 23, maybe 24 years old. So I do think we're going to see a lot of improvements from him, training at a very good camp in Tiger Muay Thai as well. And I kind of like his style, kind of. I was watching tape, and I forget who said it. One of the announcers was like, he's a silver medalist in Greco-Roman wrestling, which, from the tape, I couldn't really notice that, but that's good to have as well. I'm assuming he's going to be, the much stronger fighter in this fight. He's going to be the much bigger fighter. He's going to have, a 5 or 6 inch height advantage there. And I just think he has more ways to win, where Amadoski, 100% finish rate, all by knockout. I think for Amadoski to win, he's going to need a knockout, which that's going to probably be very hard. Yaozong has a freaking brick for a head. He was taking some seriously hard shots from Coulter. Like I said, Coulter did hurt him at one point, but Yaozong was able to recover quickly. And both these guys do eat shots with their face, so I think there is a good chance there's a finish. Both guys have terrible striking defenses thus far in 2 fights. Amadoski, 37% striking defense. Yaozong Hu has a 38% striking defense as well. So I'm going to go with the younger fighter in Yaozong Hu. I think he's going to be able to kind of grind this one out, take it into deeper waters, maybe get a takedown here or there, hold Omadovsky against the cage. But man, this is an absolute crapshoot of a fight. I don't know why it's on the card, but it should be pretty hilarious. But I will take Hu to win by, I'll say decision, but a finish would not shock me as well. But yeah, I'll take the underdog there in Hu. All right, next we have Azalgus Zhumagulov going against Jerome Rivera. Zhumagulov is 32 years old, 5'4", 66 inch reach, 13-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jerome Rivera, 26 years old, 5'10", 72.5 inch reach, 10-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So we'll get into some stats here, but I guess the most interesting thing is going to be that tail of the tape. Azalgus Zhumagulov is going to be 6 years older. He's going to have a 6-inch height disadvantage, and he's going to have a 6.5-inch reach disadvantage as well. And then we take a look at the odds, and Azalgus is actually the second biggest favorite on the card, opening up -400, currently -358. And I will say, I do think he's the much better fighter, but he's got a lot going against him. So we'll get into the numbers here real quick. Azalgus Zhumagulov does have a 2-fight sample, but both those fights did go the full distance, so decent sample size there. Azalgus Zhumagulov does land 4.17 significant strikes per minute, 49% accuracy, does absorb 4 with a positive significant strike differential of 0.17. And a 58% strike and defense. As far as Rivera, does have a 4-fight sample, does land 3.08 significant strikes per minute, only a 34% accuracy, does absorb 2.47 significant strikes per minute with a 0.61 positive significant strike differential, and only a 51% strike and defense. So as far as the grappling stats, this is where I think it's very interesting. So Jerome Rivera is somebody that has very good grappling, and he wants to get it down the mat. It's just he can't do it. He has 0 takedowns thus far in his 3 UFC fights, and his 1 Contender Series fight, has not been able to get a takedown yet. 0% takedown accuracy and a 40% takedown defense. And then you have Azalgus Zhumagulov, who does average about a takedown and a half, 21% accuracy, and a 33% takedown defense. But that was because Amir Albazi was able to take him down a couple times in those 2 fights. So yeah, interesting fight. I think Azalgus Zhumagulov is definitely the better fighter for sure. But man, he's going to be at a huge height disadvantage, a huge reach disadvantage. That gives me a little bit of pause there, but I do think he's going to be able to win. I do think he's going to be able to mix in the takedowns. Jerome Rivera 0-3 in the UFC, lost to Tyson Nam, lost to Francisco Figueiredo, lost to Ode Osborne. Even his Contender Series fight, I thought that was a very close fight. I actually scored it against him, so he very well could be on a 4-fight losing streak here. I think he's young. I think he's going to make improvements, but I do think Azalgus at this point in time is the better fighter. But yeah, the -358, I think that's a little bit too wide, considering he's going to have to close the distance. He's going to have to take this down to the mat, stay safe on top. But I do think that Azalgus is going to get it done. I'm going to say Azalgus Zhumagulov by decision. But yeah, the -358 just seems like a little bit way too wide for me. All right. Next, we have an interesting fight. We have Brad Tavares going against Amari Akhmedov. We have Tavares, who is 33 years old, 6'1", 74-inch reach, 18-6 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Amari Akhmedov is 33 years old, 6 foot, 73-inch reach, 21-5-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and then we'll dig into some stats for this one. Brad Tavares did open up as a -190, currently -154. Amari Akhmedov opened up plus 165, currently plus 134. So somebody coming in on Akhmedov. And getting into the stats a little bit, Brad Tavares does average 3.04 significant strikes per minute with a 41% accuracy compared to Akhmedov, who does average slightly less, 2.95 significant strikes per minute with a 35% accuracy. Tavares does absorb 2.73 with a positive significant strike differential of 0.31 and a 56% striking defense. Akhmedov does absorb 2.59, positive significant strike differential of 0.36 and a 57% striking defense. So very similar numbers in the striking. But where it gets very interesting, I think this is the most important aspect of the fight, is going to be the grappling stats here, where Tavares, I don't see him going for takedowns in this fight. He does average about a takedown per 15 minutes, 27% accuracy, and he does have a 79% takedown defense, a very good takedown defense in Brad Tavares. Amari Akhmedov does average 2.63 takedowns per 15 minutes, 49% takedown accuracy, very good, and a 65% takedown defense. So we saw Brad Tavares in his last fight against Antonio Carlos Jr. He stuffed, one takedown, Carlos Jr. is 1 of 12 on takedowns. He stuffed 11 takedowns from Carlos Jr. And of course, there's a big difference between the wrestling of Carlos Jr. and the wrestling of Akhmedov, but still, it was very impressive to see, how good he looked. And I think there might be a little bit of recency bias because we know for sure that Akhmedov is going to want to get this down to the mat, and we just saw how good Tavares' takedown defense looked. But I do expect Akhmedov to possibly have some success early in that first round. It's just we see it time and time again where Akhmedov does slow down as the fight goes on. And again, like Tavares, he's very hard to take down, very hard to hold down as well. So it's a close fight. I see why money's coming in on Akhmedov. I got to favor the striking of Tavares. I got to favor the cardio of Tavares. I think the first round could actually go to Akhmedov. I just think as the fight goes on, Tavares is going to be stuffing more takedowns. He's going to be working his way back up. It's going to get Akhmedov tired. And I'm going to say that Brad Tavares does take over as the fight goes on, wins those last 2 rounds, and cruises to a decision. But yeah, it's a close fight because maybe Akhmedov does win those first 2 rounds, and the third is very iffy for him. But I'm going to say Tavares is able to stuff the majority of the takedowns. Maybe he does lose that first round, but I'm going to say his cardio does prevail here, and I say he does win a decision. So give me Brad Tavares by decision here. All right, Jennifer Maia going against Jessica Eye. We have Jennifer Maia, who is 32 years old, 5'4", 64-inch reach, 18-7-1. And 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Jessica Eye, 34 years old, 5'6", 66-inch reach, 15-9 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. I don't really want to get into the stats on this one. I guess I will say that Jennifer Maia, I think there's some serious recency bias in this line. You take a look at it. Jennifer Maia opened up minus 175, currently minus 200. Jessica Eye opened up plus 150, currently plus 170. And we see it time and time again. People, even I do this sometimes, overrating fighters in a loss. Jennifer Maia was able to win a round on Valentina Shevchenko, which it's very impressive, don't get me wrong, but you take a look at some of the stats here, and it's very concerning, especially if you are on the Jennifer Maia side, because I think a lot of people, including me, expect Jennifer Maia to get this fight down to the mat, but you kind of go through her fights, her 6 UFC fights, she's attempted 4 takedowns, and she's only gotten 2 of them, and one of those was against Valentina. So if she comes out here and she fights smart, and she takes Eye to the ground, I think it's going to be a pretty easy win. But we have not seen that a lot out of Jennifer Maia in her career. So if I was, in her corner, or if I was Jennifer Maia, I would be getting this fight down to the mat. But we see it right there, like 2 takedowns in her entire UFC career. Once against Caitlin Chukagian, once against Valentina Shevchenko. The other 4 fights, she has no takedowns. So a little bit scary there. And if it does play out on the feet, I think it's very close. I really do think it's very close. Even Jessica Eye is going to have more volume. Jennifer Maia does have a 52% striking defense as well. Both fighters do have negative significant strike differentials. So I think if it does stay on the feet, it's going to be very, very close. Like flip a coin, it's just, man, Maia's got to know, get this fight down to the mat. Jessica Eye has, a 57% takedown defense. So I'm going to pick Jennifer Maia just based off the fact that, hey, she probably should go for takedowns. And I think if she gets 1 takedown, that's probably all she needs to ride out the round. But it's hard to be very confident in that at all because I could see a scenario where, hey, she doesn't want to go for takedowns. She wants to keep it standing for some reason, and it goes to decision. Split decision, but man, Jessica Eye should really lose this fight if Jennifer Maia does fight smart. I'm going to say Jennifer Maia wins, but yeah, just taking a look at it, digging into it more, seeing that she's only attempted 4 takedowns gives me serious pause, especially considering the minus 200. I never bet that in my life, but I will take Maia to win, but not too much confidence in that. So Maia by decision there, which 3 or 4 decisions in a row here. So hopefully we get a finish soon. And maybe we do here. Ilia Topuria going against Ryan Hall. Very good fight. I'm very high on Ilia Topuria. I really like Ryan Hall as well. Topuria is 24 years old, 5'7", 69-inch reach, 10-0, obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Ryan Hall, 36 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 8-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. I believe Ryan Hall's only loss was the first fight of his career. So he has not lost in a very, very long time, but he also hasn't fought in a very long time. What has it been? Like 1 year, 10 months since we have seen Ryan Hall. He's getting up there in age, 36 years old. We'll take a look at the odds here. Topuria is a pretty sizable favorite, opening up -220, currently -230. Ryan Hall opening up +185, currently +195. So very interesting fight here. I'm really high on Topuria. He's good everywhere. He's a great striker, great power. A really solid wrestler, a black belt in BJJ, great grappler, a finisher. He's finished 9 out of his 10 wins. The one that went to decision was against Yusuf Zalal in a fight that he did win as well. So there were some question marks because we have not really seen this guy get extended, but it was nice to see him go to decision against Zalal there, but still do have some concerns about the gas tank if this fight does get extended here. And Ryan Hall is a very tough problem to solve. I mean, he's very tricky on the feet. He throws whatever he wants because he's not scared of getting taken down. And I think he's a very underrated striker. And you kind of take a look at some of his striking numbers thus far in the UFC. He does land only 2.32, but he only absorbs 0.96. So guys really have a tough time, closing the distance on him. A 75% striking defense from Ryan Hall as well. But I think Topuria is going to be able to close the distance. I think Topuria is going to have success on the feet. It's just I see maybe at one point, multiple points even, this fight probably does touch the mat. I think Topuria is going to have, a lot of confidence in that ground game. I don't know if you want to go to the ground with Ryan Hall here, but I think if I was Topuria and if I wanted to fight smart, I'd be able to, keep this on the feet. Ryan Hall is going to be doing multiple Imanari rolls. He's going to be pulling guard. He's going to do everything he can to get this down on the mat. If I was Topuria, I wouldn't even mess around in the guard of Ryan Hall, but I kind of have a feeling he will. And at that point, the -230 is a little bit iffy. But man, if Topuria fights smart, keeps it on the feet, pressures, stays on the feet the whole time, I think there's a good chance that he might knock out Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall, don't believe he's ever been knocked out. But I do think Topuria, the much younger fighter, the much more active fighter as well, is going to get this done. But a Ryan Hall submission wouldn't overly surprise me that much. But I do think Topuria is going to come in here with a good game plan. Hopefully, keep it on the feet. Maybe a little bit of ground exchanges, but I do think he's a well-credentialed black belt in BJJ. I do think he can stay out of the submissions there. And I do think he's going to win a decision against Ryan Hall. So give me Ilia Topuria to win by decision. Should be a very fun fight, especially if it hits the ground. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. But I will take Ilia Topuria to win this fight by decision. Possible knockout, but I'll go decision there. All right, Dricus du Plessis going against Trevin Giles. Should be a very exciting fight considering du Plessis has never seen the scorecards ever. You take a look at it, Trevin Giles, 28 years old, 6 foot, 74-inch reach, 14-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Dricus du Plessis, 27 years old, 6'1", 76-inch reach, 15-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Like I mentioned, du Plessis has never seen the scorecards. 100% finish rate, 40% by knockout, 60% by submission. He is very, very dangerous, has been knocked out, and has been submitted before as well. He went in there against Marcus Perez in his UFC debut. Kind of looked like he started out a little bit slow, maybe some octagon jitters, but he was able to get the knockout on Perez, which is not very hard to do. I think that was one of the very few times, maybe the only time that Perez had been knocked out. So that was cool to see, but man, in this fight, I absolutely think that Giles is the better fighter everywhere. I think he's the better grappler, brown belt and BJJ. He has been submitted twice, and I know people are going to look at that and see that, hey, du Plessis has a ton of submissions on his record, but, Giles is a great grappler. He was able to survive a lot of the grappling exchanges of Gerald Meerschaert before he ultimately got submitted, which does lead me to the fight IQ, because in that fight, I remember Giles hurt Meerschaert with the very first strike he threw, and then ultimately he ended up playing on the ground a little bit too much for Meerschaert and then got submitted. So the fight IQ is not really there. The cardio is not really there. We saw him slow down in the Dolidze fight towards the end as well. A lot of people thought that Dolidze did win that fight. I thought Giles won it, especially after going back and watching it. I thought that, Dolidze did win that fight. Going through the record or the career of Trevin Giles, and not overly impressive. Like I said, he did have the win over Dolidze. He knocked out Bevon Lewis. He beat James Krause split decision. James Krause did come up a weight class on like a day's notice in that fight as well. Got submitted by Gerald Meerschaert, got submitted by Zach Cummings in a fight where he did get hurt bad in that third round. Both his losses are in the third round. Both of his losses are by third round submission. But on the feet, I favor Giles. On the ground, I favor Giles. I think Giles is the much better striker. I think he's going to have a lot of success on the feet. It hits very hard as well. We saw him hurt Dolidze quite a bit. Tons of knockouts on his record. And I don't know, I'm going to go with Giles here. But it's hard to be confident in him. He's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. But he is a finisher. 79% finish rate, 43% by knockout, 36% by submission. I do think on the feet he's going to have success. If he wants to get this down to the mat, I do think he can. Very good wrestler, but only averages 1.37 takedowns, 80% accuracy, so very, very good accuracy there. But Duplessis is dangerous. It's very hard to count out Duplessis in this fight because of how dangerous he is. He has fight-changing power, but I think Giles does as well. So I'm going to take Giles to win. But again, the fight IQ concerns me, the cardio concerns me, and the lack of output concerns me. But with that said, he does land 3.26. He only absorbs 1.88, so he's kind of good at keeping the distance, staying at range. And it is in the bigger cage. So I'm going to go with Giles here. I think he's the better fighter, but Driscus is very, very dangerous. So give me Giles to win. I'm going to say Giles wins by, I'm going to say second round knockout there. Should be a very fun fight. All right, and here we have a fight of the night. We have Michelle Pereira going against Nico Price. It seems like, majority of the Nico Prices, well, every single Nico Price fight is going to be fun because of the style that this guy brings. You do have Michelle Pereira, who is 27 years old, 6'1", 73-inch reach, 25-11. And 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Nico Price, 31 years old, 6 foot, 76-inch reach, 14-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We have Michelle Pereira opening up -175, currently -150. Nico Price opening up +150 and currently +130. And I don't believe I mentioned the odds on Duplessis, but Duplessis is -120 and Giles is +100. So like I said, for fight of the night here. Two very exciting fighters, two, fan favorites. These guys are going to, fight to entertain. And both guys are very entertaining in their own style. And I do want to get into some of the stats for this fight, especially on the Nico Price side. So, Price is going to land a ton. You take a look at it. Lands 5.33 significant strikes per minute compared to Pereira's 3.74. So he's going to be landing a lot more. But with all that output, he does get hit a ton. He does absorb 5.83 with a negative significant strike differential and a 49% striking defense, which is actually, one of the worst on the entire card outside of the first fight of the night. But he is there to be hit. I mean, you take a look at some of these guys, some of these fights, and he has no regards to any striking defense whatsoever. But, Nico Price is very dangerous. And you take a look at the career of Michelle Pereira in the UFC, he's going to get a fight here that he's never seen yet in the UFC. Danny Roberts, that fight ended early. Tristan Connolly in a fight that he lost. Completely different fight here. Diego Sanchez, Zelim Imadaev, Chaos Williams. I think it's going to be most similar to the Chaos Williams fight. It's just Chaos Williams barely threw anything in that fight. He landed 55 strikes. He only threw 134. Price is going to be coming forward throwing a lot more than that. Price against Cerrone threw 300. 330 strikes did Nico Price in that fight. And in the Luque fight, he threw 307. And that's just how he fights. He's an absolute madman. He's going to be coming forward. Like I said, no regards to any striking defense at all. In the Luque fight, the dude got clipped like 3 or 4 times. Ended up, finally getting knocked out in that third round. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight because Michelle Pereira is going to, get a fight he's never seen yet before. Michelle Pereira has only been knocked out once in his entire career. And a lot of that is against, some guys that are not, great at all. 36 fights, only 1 knockout loss. That was against Dusko Todorovic in that fight. Todorovic was coming forward, landing shots. I do think Nico Price can kind of implement that style, but man, close fight. Pereira, he's been looking good. He's been fighting smarter. He's not doing cartwheels. He's not doing flips. I'll go with Pereira to knock out Niko Price, but man, this is going to be a fun fight. I think someone's getting finished. Price probably runs forward with his hands down. He probably gets clipped because Pereira hits hard. Both guys do. But I do think that Poirier has a very good chance of getting a knockout here. But would it shock me if Niko Price got a knockout here? No, it would not. Niko Price is very opportunistic. We've seen, multiple knockouts from his back. The dude has legit power. But just seeing how hittable he is kind of gives me some serious pause, especially here. So I'm going to take Michel Pereira to get the knockout. And it should be a fun fight. It should be a war. Probably fight of the night. I'm curious to see if Michel Pereira does do these cartwheels, jumps off the cage a couple times, does a flip or two, during the fight, because we will have fans. So I'm curious to see what happens there, but it should be a fun fight. I will go Michel Pereira to win by knockout. But yeah, it should be a good fight. Niko Price, definitely one of my favorite fighters, because it's hard not to like this guy. The guy comes to fight, the guy comes for war, and he comes to entertain. So give me Michel Pereira for the win. I'll say second round knockout for Pereira. All right, next we have Max Griffin going against Carlos Condit. We have Max Griffin, who is 35 years old, 5'11", 76-inch reach, 17-8, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Carlos Condit, 37 years old, 6'2", 76-inch reach, 32-13, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll get into some of the stats for this fight, as I do think they're very important. Take a look at it. Max Griffin did open up -175, currently -185. Carlos Condit open up +150, currently +160. So yeah, getting into the stats a little bit. We'll start with the striking stats. Max Griffin does average 4.14 significant strikes per minute with a 48% accuracy. Does absorb 3.94 with a positive significant strike differential of 0.20 and a 56% striking defense. So high output for Max Griffin. Carlos Condit, a little bit lower output. Carlos Condit averages 3.63 significant strikes per minute with a 39% accuracy and does absorb only 2.49 with a positive significant strike differential of 1.14, which is phenomenal, and a 56% striking defense. So we'll take a look at the grappling stats, and I think this is the biggest part of the fight by a decent margin. You have Max Griffin, who does average nearly 2 takedowns per 15 minutes and a very good 51% takedown accuracy and a 66% takedown defense. Carlos Condit averages about a half a takedown per 15 minutes, a 54% accuracy, and only a 39% takedown defense. And I think that's key here because if Max Griffin wants to get this fight down to the mat, I absolutely think he can. Just kind of a fun fact here. Carlos Condit, since the WEC days, he's been taken down 20 times, or 20 fights out of his 24 fights. So there's been 4 fights where he has not been taken down. And in those 4 fights, his opponents did not even try for a takedown. So every single opponent that has tried to take down Carlos Condit has been successful in doing so. So yeah, Carlos Condit, he has been looking good. He beat Court McGee in a fight where, man, I don't know if they put it in the contract or something where Court McGee was not allowed to wrestle because the path to victory was there. Court McGee's somebody that does average nearly 2 takedowns himself. Did not go for one single takedown in that fight, and Condit was able to outland him 88-84, knock him down in that first round. McGee actually outlanded him pretty big in that first round, but it was the knockdown that ultimately won Condit that first round. Ended up being 30-27s. Yeah, McGee actually outlanded Condit 31-15 in that first round. And then in the next fight, he beat Matt Brown. And we saw Matt Brown just go out there and knock out Diego Lima. So, 2 decent wins there. But, man, I'm still scratching my head about the game plan of Court McGee. And then you see Court McGee in his next fight take down Claudia Silva, which I did not expect at all. So, I don't know if they had it in the contract. I don't know what's going on there. But Court McGee, 120% should have went for a takedown. So, I would like to see that. But, yeah, Max Griffin, if he has any fight IQ at all, any at all, he will go for takedowns in this fight. I do think that Condit can 100% be taken down. I think he can be controlled. Max Griffin, very good wrestler. I do think he can get this down to the mat. Lots of pressure, lots of output as well. I think it's a very good stylistic matchup for Max Griffin if he does fight smart. So I'm going to take Max Griffin to win. I'm going to take him to win by decision. I saw an interview with Max Griffin saying he's going to finish Condit. I don't think that's happening. Condit has only been knocked out 1 time in 45 fights, but he has been submitted 6 times. Don't see Max Griffin submitting him. Somebody say Max Griffin by decision. Like I said, very good stylistic matchup if he does fight smart. I think the takedowns will be there all day. I think the striking will actually be close. Of course, you probably got to favor Condit on the feet, even at this day and age of the 37-year-old Condit. But I think the striking will be somewhat close, and I just think the takedowns will ultimately be what wins the fight here for Max Griffin. So hopefully, fight smart, Max Griffin for the win, decision, and yeah. But yeah, that'd be crazy if Condit did win this fight. That'd be a 3-fight winning streak after losing 5 in a row. So yeah. But yeah, Condit has been looking good, but he's been looking good against Matt Brown and Court McGee. So yeah, give me Max Griffin for the win here. All right, so we're at the main card here, and to open up the main card, we have Sean O'Malley going against Chris Montino. O'Malley is, oh my goodness, 26 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach, 13-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. But if you ask him, he is undefeated, which I completely disagree with. And then you have Chris Montino, who is 28 years old, 5'7", 70-inch reach, 9-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Chris Montino coming in on short notice. Watched a little bit of this guy, watched a couple fights. Take a look at the odds here, and O'Malley is the biggest favorite on the card. He opened up minus 500. That got smashed right away to minus 900. And then Montino is plus 550, opened up plus 375. So, I mean, not much to say about this fight. And I kind of joked around with Uncle Weezy. We were talking the night before the fight got made here, and I was like, man, all these guys calling out O'Malley. And we were talking about potential match. I was like, dude, O'Malley's gonna fight somebody we've never heard of. And then what do you know? The next day, he gets put against Chris Montino. So that sucks. I thought there was a lot of fun matchups that could have been made. But yeah, Montino here, he's a tough guy. He comes forward. No striking defense, which is a recipe for disaster here against O'Malley, who has a ton of power, very accurate, a very good striker as well. Montino, good wrestler, solid wrestler. Just don't see him having much success here against O'Malley. And, O'Malley's going to, give everybody what they want. And it's going to be another walk-off knockout. I will say, as far as betting the minus 900, I don't know if I'd really do that. I think a lot of people are going to be throwing them into parlays. A lot of people are going to be betting the first round prop, the second round prop, the knockout prop. I mean, I guess I do think he knocks him out, but I just know, I don't know. I think he's minus 320 to win inside the distance, which is insane. But I'll take O'Malley. He should knock this guy out. Should knock him out early. Montino, tough guy, but no striking defense at all. Comes forward, hands down. Give me O'Malley for the win. Give me O'Malley by knockout. Easy win here. I'd be surprised if Montino did win. But yeah, weird fight, but it is what it is. And O'Malley gets another nice walk-off knockout. First round. If it gets out of the first round, I'm going to be very disappointed in O'Malley there. He should definitely aim for that first round, because anything other than that, not a good look. All right, I don't know why this is on the main card, but it is. We have Irene Aldana going against Kunitskaya, and yeah, I mean, you got to think Pereira Price should probably be on the main card here, but no, we have Aldana versus Kunzikaya. Aldana is 33 years old, 5'9", 68.5-inch reach, 12-6, and 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Yana, 31 years old, 5'6", 68.5-inch reach, 14-5, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we have Yana this is close to a pick'em here if I can find the odds. Minus 104 for Yana, opening up plus 105, and then Aldana opening up minus 125, currently minus 116. So some money coming in on the Yana side, and it probably should. This is a really close fight. So I do want to get into some of the stats here, as I do think they're somewhat important. So Aldana is going to have the higher volume here, does land 5.52 significant strikes per minute with a 38% accuracy, compared to Yana's 4.22 with a 57% accuracy. So Yana, a better striking accuracy by 19%. And then you do see Aldana absorbing nearly 6 significant strikes with a negative significant strike differential of 0.45, which is something you never like to see. It does have a 61% strike in defense. So as far as Yana, does absorb 2.62, very good. A positive significant strike differential of 1.6, and does have a 51% strike in defense as well. You take a look at the grappling stats. Aldana does average 0.2 takedowns per 15 minutes. I don't see her going for takedowns here, but she does have a 50% accuracy and an 84% takedown defense. And Yana does average about a takedown and a half per 15 minutes, 53% takedown accuracy, and only a 50% takedown defense. So, man, this fight is as close to a coin flip as you can get. But you take a look at the career of Aldana, and honestly, I'm not that impressed. You take a look at her losses, Caitlin Chukagian, Leslie Smith, Raquel Pennington, Holly Holm, just decent losses, but you take a look at their wins. Bernardo, Lucy Pudilova, Betch Correa, Vanessa Mello, like those are, bottom of the barrel as you can get. And then she does have a win over Caitlin Vieira, that first round knockout, but Yana just beat her as well. You take a look at Yana, the much better competition. She did lose to Aspen Ladd, got knocked down in the third round. Not the best look, but Aspen Ladd's decent. She beat Marion Renault. She beat Lena Landsberg. She lost to Chris Cyborg back in 2018 as well. She did beat Julia Stolyarenko, who we just saw. And then she beat Caitlin Vieira. So I do think the more impressive resume is going to be Yana Kunzikaya. I do think she's the more well-rounded fighter as well. If she can get this down to the mat, I think she can have success. And although Aldana does have that 84% takedown defense, again, look at who she's fighting. Vanessa Mello, who is 1-3 in the UFC. Mello went 0-1 in takedowns. Betch Correa went 0-2 in takedowns. Lucy Pudilova didn't attempt a takedown. Bernardo went 1-11 in takedowns. So just look at the kind of competition that is trying to take her down, where you have Chukagian, who went 0-11 on takedowns as well. So maybe she does stuff, some takedowns, but I do think Yana can, hold her against the cage, take her down here and there, and win a decision. I think the striking is going to be very close. I guess one thing I'm worried about is, Yana has been finished quite a bit in her career. In her 5 losses, she has been finished 4 times, 2 by knockout, 2 by sub, so that's kind of concerning there. And Aldana does have a 75% finish rate. She does have power, but if Yana can win or take this to the scorecards, I do think she can win. I think she's the more well-rounded fighter. I do think she can, mix in the takedowns here and there. I think it will be competitive on the feet. But yeah, man, it's a close fight. It's a very close fight. I'll take Yana to win. I'll take Yana to win by decision, but hard to be overly confident in it. So give me Yana Kunitskaya for the decision win. All right, next we have Tai Tui Vasa going against Greg Hardy. Should be a fun heavyweight fight here. We have Tai Tui Vasa, who is 28 years old, 6'2", 75-inch reach, 12-3, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Greg Hardy, 32 years old, 6'5", 80.5-inch reach, 7-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Tui Vasa is going to have a 5.5-inch reach disadvantage and a 3-inch height disadvantage. He's going to be 4 years younger than Hardy, though. And we'll take a look at the odds here. And Tai Tui Vasa is a -135 favorite, opening up -170. Hardy opening up +145 is +115. So somebody actually coming in on Greg Hardy. And I do want to get into the stats on this one. So the striking stats, both guys very high volume, especially Hardy. Hardy does average 4.83 significant strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy, does absorb only 3.12 with a significant strike differential of 1.71, which is phenomenal, and a 56% striking defense. Great numbers there to see. Tai Tui Vasa, high volume himself, averaging 4.38 significant strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy. Does absorb 3.44 with a positive significant strike differential of 0.94 and only a 50% striking defense. He does block a lot of punches with his chin. He does rely on his chin quite a bit, and it definitely holds up. I mean, this guy's chin is very good. He has only been knocked out once. That was against JDS in a very weird fight that I'll kind of get into, but a fight that he was winning that first round and got clipped in the second. JDS got on top of him, and Tai Tui Vasa had no idea what to do on bottom. Kind of a hilarious stoppage where I think JDS was in mount, and Tai Tui Vasa was just throwing up punches while JDS was raining down punches, and the ref ended up stopping the fight. But it wasn't like he was out or anything like that. So this guy's chin is very, very good. As far as the grappling stats, I think a lot of people are expecting this fight to hit the mat one way or another, but you take a look at it. Tai Tui Vasa has 0 takedowns in the UFC. I think he's only attempted like a handful, maybe like 1 or 2 takedowns, and then Greg Hardy only has 1 takedown as well. So I actually don't see anybody going for takedowns here. Maybe it's part of the game plan of the two, but even then, I just don't see anybody being successful in doing so. Hardy had shown some pretty good takedown defense in his last fight against Marcin Tybura, although Tybura was able to get him down eventually. At that point, the fight was over shortly after. I just don't see Tai Tui Vasa getting his first takedown here, and even then, I don't see Greg Hardy getting his second takedown. His only takedown was against Maurice Green, who has a 27% takedown defense. So I do see this playing outstanding. Yeah, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I think I'm going to go with Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy's going to have more volume. I think the bigger cage is going to favor a guy like Greg Hardy. And, watching that Tybura fight, he had a ton of success in that first round, being able to stay on the outside. He actually outlanded Tybura 38 to 16 in that first round, staying on the outside. And as long as Tai Tui Vasa doesn't clip him, I think Hardy does a very good job at staying at range. If Tai Tui Vasa does, rush in, stick to the outside. And I'm going to say Greg Hardy does win a decision. I don't see him knocking out Tai Tui Vasa, but this should be a very fun fight, a very good fight. I guess the one concern I have of Hardy is the awful cardio. We did see him slow down a ton in that Tybura fight, but in that fight, he did have to stuff a couple takedowns. He did get taken down, and he did gas out, but I don't really see Tai Tui Vasa going for any takedowns here. So I do think it's going to be kind of play out at Greg Hardy's pace. I do think he's going to stay on the outside. I don't think his cardio is going to be an extreme issue here, but I'll take Greg Hardy to win by decision, staying on the outside, landing more shots. I think he's getting better and better and better. Each and every fight, massive improvements, and I do think he wins here against Tai Tui Vasa. So give me Greg Hardy by decision. All right, getting into the co-main event, Stephen Thompson going against Gilbert Burns. So me and Uncle Weezy did a deep dive on this fight. If you do want a further in-depth breakdown on it, go check that out on the channel. But we'll get into it here. Stephen Thompson, 38 years old, 6 foot, 75-inch reach, 16-4-1, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Gilbert Burns, 34 years old, 5'10", 71-inch reach, 19-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Stephen Thompson is the favorite, opening up as a plus 135 dog for some reason. That got smashed right away. Currently minus 157. And then we have Gilbert Burns opening up as a minus 155 favorite, currently plus 137. So money coming in on Thompson here. And I do want to get into the stats. So we'll start with the striking stats. So clearly, Thompson's going to have an advantage on the feet, a significant advantage. Thompson does average 4.24 significant strikes per minute with a 43% accuracy. He does absorb only 2.8 with a positive significant strike differential of 1.44 and a 58% striking defense. Very impressive numbers there from Thompson. Gilbert Burns, a little bit less output, does land 3.22 significant strikes per minute with a 45% accuracy, does absorb 3.04 with a positive significant strike differential of 0.18 and a 54% striking defense. So we'll get to the grappling stats, and I think this is where the most important aspect of this fight is. So Thompson does average 0.3 takedowns per 15 minutes, 45% accuracy. 0% chance he does take down Burns in this fight. Not going to happen, but he does have a 78% takedown defense, very good takedown defense there. And Burns does average 2 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 45% accuracy and a 50% takedown defense, that being because he does not care if he gets taken down or not, because he's very comfortable off his back and on the ground as a whole. So, very interesting stat here. So in Stephen Thompson's entire career, only 2 guys have taken him down in the UFC. Matt Brown, which this was back in 2012, 8-9 years ago, and then Tyron Woodley. Those are the only 2 fighters that did take him down. And that, like I said, the Thompson fight versus Brown was back in 2012, where Brown did take him down 5 times. And then Woodley did take him down once in each of their fights. But you take a look at that, and Thompson was able to pop back up pretty easily. And then another fight I did want to point out was against Johnny Hendricks, who, one of the best wrestlers in the division, especially at the time where, Hendricks was averaging like 4 takedowns per 50 minutes, a 50% accuracy. Hendricks shot him for a takedown. He wasn't able to get it. And, Thompson was able to, stand up, get it back at range. And Hendricks didn't even try to attempt a takedown again because he knew probably that, Thompson's probably not going to be able to go to the ground. And then he did knock out Hendricks shortly after that. And it's just so hard to take down Stephen Thompson. I mean, there's just a lot of things going against Burns here, especially getting this down to the mat. For one, Thompson keeps this at range very well. Very good range management, very hard to get on the inside of Thompson. So Burns is going to have to deal with that. And then taking down Thompson is very, very hard as well. And then if you do take him down, it's very hard to hold him down as well. So I really don't see Burns having much success, if any, taking down Thompson. And I kind of talk about this a lot where, guys go for takedowns and they don't get them. It really, really hurts your gas tank. For an example, you used to Zalal against Sean Woodson, where Zalal attempted like 17 takedowns, got like 1 or 2 of them. And Zalal, who is, very well conditioned, had a full camp for that fight. He was gassed out by that third round because you're going for takedowns, putting all your energy to him and not getting him was really hurt your gas tank. And I kind of see that happening with Burns here. Burns' gas tank did look really improved against Tyron Woodley, but then again, like it was at Burns, it was keeping at his pace. It was his pace for all 5 rounds. Woodley landed only 28 strikes in that fight, so Woodley wasn't pushing much of a pace at all. So Burns was able to kind of cruise that decision. But we saw Kamaru Usman start pushing a pace, and we saw Burns really slow down after that first round, after Burns was not able to get Kamaru Usman out of there. And yeah, this fight kind of reminds me of Burns' fight with Dan Hooker. I know this fight was at a different weight class. It was at 155. This is at 170. But, Dan Hooker and Stephen Thompson have some resemblance, based off of, Hooker is a very long, rangy guy. Both Hooker and Thompson have the same height and same reach. And in that fight, Gilbert Burns really struggled to close the distance against Dan Hooker. He would rush in with his hands down, and Hooker, was able to easily piece him apart, easily able to counter him when Burns was rushing in there. And Hooker did knock him down twice and even knocked him out in that first round. And I can kind of see the same thing here. Burns is really going to struggle to close the distance. He's really going to struggle to get on the inside to try to touch the chin of Thompson. And, that's what Thompson wants. He wants you to rush in. He's going to be able to easily pick apart Gilbert Burns. And I do think he does knock out Burns at some point in this fight. I will say third round. But yeah, Burns is very dangerous. But if Burns wins, just a lot of things going against him, like being able to close the distance in the striking, in the grappling, taking down Thompson, very hard to do, and holding down Thompson, which is even harder to do. But I think if Burns wins, it's probably a knockout. He probably hurts Thompson, but Thompson only been knocked out once in his career against Anthony Pettis, which was a huge fluke. In a fight where Thompson was winning, clearly that entire fight out of nowhere. Pettis Superman punch knocked out Thompson. But yeah, other than that, Thompson's shin's held up. He's been knocked down here and there against Woodley, against Hill. But yeah, good shin in Thompson. So I say Thompson wins. I say Thompson wins by knockout. Should be a very fun fight. Give me a third round knockout for Stephen Thompson. All right, getting into the main event, the moment we've all been waiting for, Dustin Poirier going against Conor McGregor. And before we do break this down, if you guys can leave a like while you're here, that'd be much appreciated. Trying to aim for that 500 like mark. That'd be sweet on a huge card. Live stream on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and live stream on Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims. So, yeah, I broke this fight down with Uncle Weezy as well. Went really in-depth into it. So if you've not seen that video of the main event deep dive, go check that out. But we'll break it down here. I'm not going to get into any stats on this fight. But Conor McGregor is 32 years old, 5'9", 74-inch reach, 22-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Dustin Poirier, 32 years old, 5'9", 73-inch reach, 27-6, and 4-1 in his last 2 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. And Conor McGregor opened up as a -140, currently +107. Dustin Poirier opened up +120, currently -127. So that's just crazy to think about, considering Conor closed around -300 in the last fight, and now we see Conor as an underdog, and that's just crazy to think about how he went from that big of a favorite to now a dog. And I can definitely see why, because we saw the fight play out. Poirier came in there with a very good game plan. I mean, he couldn't have came in there with any better of a game plan. He went in there, got a takedown within first 30 seconds, which was huge. That's what you want to do. You want to get Conor down. You want to get him down early. You want to expend some of Conor's energy, make him, make him work his way back up, and that's what he did. And then also, there's about 2 minutes exchange when they were clinching against the fence, which that again favors Poirier quite a bit. You want Conor to use a lot of the energy. You don't want to stay at range with Conor as well. But we did see in that first round, when it was at range, Conor was having a lot of success in the striking. Actually did score the first round for him. He hit Poirier with a ton of hard shots, but Poirier just did not go down. And then the leg kick started adding up. Leg kick after leg kick after leg kick. And then the second round, Poirier was able to hurt him and knock him out. He was the first person to ever knock out Conor McGregor in 27 fights. And this fight is so tough to call to me. We see why it is a pick'em. Because there, Conor has an X factor. The X factor is that power. I kind of made a little bit of a joke on my main event deep dive, the video I posted a couple days ago. Conor McGregor and Francis Ngannou, I believe they have the same amount of UFC fights, or are really close to it. Conor McGregor has 13 knockdowns in the UFC. Ngannou has 8 knockdowns. So, pound for pound, Conor McGregor is easily the hardest hitter in the UFC. You take a look at some of this guy's knockouts, Conor's, and it looks like sometimes he barely touches people and they just go down. So much power in his hands. We have seen Poirier knocked out twice, once by McGregor, once by Michael Johnson, but I think, Poirier is durable. He has a very good chin. It's just Conor hits so hard, and Poirier even admitted to, saying he got hurt in that first round, but I don't know. I mean, this is a tough one. I do think that, both fighters are going to make adjustments here. I heard an interview with Poirier saying he's not even practicing the low kicks or whatever, not even working on the low kicks because he's expecting Conor to go with the low kicks, which is, very interesting. If I was Poirier, I'd kind of implement the same game plan, but you got to think like Conor's going to be ready for those leg kicks. He's going to be 100% ready for those. He's going to be ready for the takedowns. I do think Conor's going to make some serious adjustments, and he definitely needs to. And, we all saw the fight play out, but every single fight's different. I think adjustments will be made, and I'm going to say Conor McGregor does get a first-round knockout here against Dustin Poirier. I think if Conor comes in here with a good game plan of keeping this at range for as long as possible, stuffing the takedowns, checking the low kicks, I think there's a very good chance that Conor knocks him out, because we did see a ton of success of Conor in that second fight in that first round, a ton of success. And Poirier, he does get hit a lot. You take a look at his career, he does get hit quite a bit. Does absorb 4.17 significant strikes per minute. We'll take a look at the Dan Hooker fight. He absorbed 155 significant strikes against Holloway. Absorbed 181 significant strikes. Both those in 5 rounds. Against Gaethje, he did knock him out in that 4th round, but absorbed 115. You cannot absorb that much from Conor McGregor. So, if I was Poirier, I'd be going for takedowns. I'd be, clinching quite a bit. But Conor's going to have moments. He's going to have opportunities to get a knockout, and I do think he does. But hey, I could absolutely be wrong. We just saw Poirier win, but I do think Conor's going to make adjustments here. I do think he knocks out Dustin Poirier. But it's a good fight. It's a good fight. The trilogy, looking forward to it. I cannot wait. It should be a fun fight card as a whole. I love this card, and I'm so excited for it. So before we get out of here, if you guys can leave a like on the video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for about 50-something minutes. I believe I have like 13 fights on the card. I do want to point out that, again, it's always a great time to sign up on the Patreon. Have 3 packages there, the most popular being the betting option. I do have 3 bets so far. I really do appreciate all the support. Had a new record of people on the Patreon last month, so appreciate that, guys. And other than that, live stream Friday, live stream Saturday. If you guys want to check out the Pub Sports Radio Stat Diggers new show that me and Uncle Weezy are doing, I'll put the link in the description below for that. But that's about all I got. See you guys Friday. Comment down your significant strikes. Comment down your DraftKings usernames. I'll get you guys in there. And yeah, let's make some money. We've been on a roll as of late, and hopefully keep it going on this very big card. So that's been it, guys, and good luck for UFC 264.